A very enterprising Tuesday morning to all of you. We've been in the midst of meeting eminent personalities and experts from various genres of writing who have shared snippets of their lives with us. All this as a part of our Dear Week activities. Drop everything and read. Doesn't that sound extremely relevant? I literally thought of dropping my phone and the TV remote and my iPad just to dig into my humble library and pick up my favorite books. So if that's what I thought about, I could imagine how it makes all of you feel.
Shreya, while you and many of the Racksters have become so much aware about reading in its true sense and have participated in all the activities with so much of enthusiasm, we thought it might help if we develop a deeper understanding of ideas. After all, that's what makes us thinkers and creators. Yes, ideas and their journey from a small spark in the corner of our minds to where they are really meant to be seen in action. Let me have the privilege of introducing all of you here to Ms. Joanne Martin, CEO and founder of Golden Earth Publishing, who's a change maker, a strategist, an innovator, and of course, an entrepreneur.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and thank you, Janet, for introducing me. It's great to be here, and I'm excited to talk to you about book publishing and all of the amazing things that can happen when you start writing and reading and generally just getting involved with books. So what I thought I would do today, because this group's a little bit older than the books that I write for children, I thought I would actually read them and extract from a book that I have just written that is more targeted at adults, but there's, I think, some interesting things in there for them to appraise. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, so I work with a lot of authors who want to become best-selling authors, and they want to have that title so that their books are more recognised and they can sell more copies and it's more interesting for people. So what I was going to talk to you about today was actually how you can start thinking about writing a best-selling book. And this can be a children's book, a fiction book, a non-fiction book. It can be any genre of book really that we can plan to write about. So if we talk about writing your bestseller book, writing a book as a strategic marketing tool is invaluable for your future success. Consider the infinite value that achieving the title of best-selling author can do for your professional brand. Writing a book is one thing, but writing a bestseller is even more powerful. If you're ready to write your book, but you don't know where to start, these steps will help you. So, number one, you always need to create a plan when you're writing. So whether you're writing for school or you're writing in your job or you're writing because you're an entrepreneur or you want to start, I guess, a blog that you might turn into a book, it's important to have a plan. So this is the critical first step in successfully writing your future bestseller. Think of writing your book as a business. Every successful business started with a plan. So some kind of plan is what they always have. So you need to plan your book, the objective, the expected outcome, the storyline, or golden thread, we sometimes call it, the topics and subtopics, the number of words, your timeline for completion, key dates and milestones, that you'll celebrate throughout the writing process. And you need to develop your outline of your chapters, images, illustrations, and diagrams. And even when you're planning, you need to write about how often you will write. So you might find that you prefer writing in the morning or the evening, or, very early in the morning when it's really quiet and no one's awake yet. So it's important to actually plan when you will write and how often and for how long, so that you avoid writer's block. And the next step in writing your book is getting your book cover designed. So that's a very exciting part. Creating your book cover makes writing a book real. It provides motivation and helps bring your book to life in the early stages of writing. So that's something that if you're not sure exactly how your book's going to finish, if you design your cover, it can be super, super exciting and a good way to visualize the rest of the story. So number 3, and the most important thing, I'm sure your teachers tell you this also, is to write. So I always say, write, write, write. It's the most important part of writing a book is the actual writing. It's amazing the number of people I meet who dream about writing a book, but never actually put pen to paper or fingers to the keyboard. So you need to set your intention for your book and just start writing. Turn off social media, turn off email, turn off your phone, don't listen to the voicemail, and just get into writing. And you'll be really surprised at how much you can accomplish in a day. So there are lots of young people who write books, and last week I actually published an author who is 15 years old. So she had written a novel that was 221,000 words. So if you know the book, the very famous book, War and Peace, it was half the size of War and Peace. So it was a very big achievement for a girl of 15. And that book took her over 2 years to write and edit and refine because it was so big. So anyone at any age can start writing their own book or their own blog, or just journaling, things like that. It can be a really good way to actually start your writing journey. So step 4 in writing your bestseller is to read your book. Once you've written your book, it's really important to ensure that you read it. It's like a pre-edit of the editing that will happen with your book. So read your book as an editor would and correct any spelling, punctuation, grammar, and consistency errors throughout the text. You can also add in some interesting stories and other information that you might want to share with the world when you do this. And then I always recommend that people hire an editor. So if you're in school and you wanted to write a book of some kind, then you might be able to ask a teacher or somebody to help you. But if you're actually planning on properly publishing your book, then I think it's important to actually hire a professional who looks at grammar and punctuation, spelling, consistency, and highlights any obvious errors where you've started talking about something but you haven't finished that part of the story. So it's kind of like the structure of it should be introduction, body, conclusion, and you put your key information in there based on that. And then the next step is the very exciting part of actually having the book published and launching your book. So once you've written it and you've done all of the writing and the editing, and you do the publishing, whether that's through traditional publishing or self-publishing, or doing a hybrid where it's more an indie style of publishing, there's lots of ways to bring your book to life. And then you create some fanfare and excitement around your book and create a launch. And the book launches can be really awesome and super exciting for people. And you get to see, you know, then who likes your book and what they say about it. And, you know, you have lots of people reading it. And that is really rewarding, I think, when you're actually writing a book. So I think it's important to remember that if you do want to write a best-selling book, that you've thought about all of these things in advance and you've planned for that before you start writing. And have that strategy and have that plan to keep it something that people want. Because if you're looking to make a career in writing, you can start that, you know, now, even with, you know, creating your journal or starting to write a story that you know will be really interesting for people. You know, so having a plan and having a process around writing will really help you with that. Did anyone want to ask me any questions?
Yes.
Hello, Ms. Joanne.
Hello.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this is Sunil. I teach business.
Yes.
Yeah, I would really love to know, like, you know, how did you envision such a diverse portfolio as an entrepreneur?
How do I what? Sorry.
How did you envision such a diverse portfolio as an entrepreneur?
It kind of just happened. I always had a plan. So I worked in marketing and communications for a long time. So I have a lot of big corporate clients that I help with copywriting and marketing communications work. And something that I found over time was that my clients weren't getting the cut through, or they weren't getting that expert status that they needed in order to create success. And that's when I got into publishing. And I found that publishing really helps people become the thought leader and the go-to person in their industry or their area of expertise. And so it's kind of evolved. And I find that sometimes you've just got to follow where the universe takes you, and, you know, things happen and they will, you know, they'll be the right things at the right time.
Thank you.
Did anyone else have any other questions?
Ma'am,
Yes.
can you please tell us how have your priorities changed since you first started?
I think when I first started, I had planned to publish mainly multi-author books. So where you have 20 or 30 people and everybody writes a chapter within the book. And what I've found is I really enjoy that, but I also really like helping solo authors, so just one individual, to publish their book. And my priorities have changed because the market changes. So, you know, we're in a very unique time in history at the moment. And that means in business and as an entrepreneur, you need to be more flexible perhaps in what you're doing and be able to look at where there's opportunity and then adapt what you're doing to the opportunity. So I've spent a lot of time doing that and looking at what the market trend is, and then, you know, adapting my business to suit that.
Happy morning,
Thank you.
ma'am.
That's okay.
Ma'am, do you think having a USP is important for any business? And how difficult was it to bring a USP into your business?
So I think having a USP is really very important for any business. Otherwise, it's just the same, you know, you're kind of just offering the same thing as everybody else. I have found with what I do, I really have niched into people who want to make the world a better place. So, you know, people who are doing things differently, they're more innovative, they're more creative, and they are actively trying to create a better world. And so I think for me, that has become a unique sort of selling point for what I do, particularly in that publishing space. And I'm a bit different then to everybody else doing the same thing. So I know there's lots of copycats and people who, would just take someone's idea and just work with that idea. But I think to be really successful, you need to actually, even if you start with an idea that someone else is doing, evolve that into something that is unique to you and what you can offer, and then find your, we call them like a tribe of people, or your community of people who need what you have and like how you offer that.
Miss Joanne, can you please tell us about your author programs? What exactly goes into deciding a particular project?
Yes, so I run a number of author programs. So the multi-author books that I talked about, where there might be 20 people that write a chapter in a book. So with those, I run a marketing campaign, and I will be actively recruiting authors to write in those books. And we go through like an interview process, because not everybody is going to suit the project you're running. And I think that's something that's very important to consider. I, as a general rule, don't work with anybody I think will be difficult to work with. So if when I interview them, if I think that maybe it's going to be difficult to work with them for whatever reason, then I don't work with them and I refer them to somebody else. And then once the people are selected, I run training. So I teach them, how to write. We talk about topics, we brainstorm, we workshop what they want to write about. And, I answer questions and help them along the way in that writing journey. So for many people, writing can be very transformational and can take them from one place where they are now to, a different version of themselves. So they're, more of an expert. They understand more what it is they're offering for people in their business, perhaps. And we go through a phase where we do the training, and then there's a writing period. And so their focus is on writing, and then their focus is on resting from the writing for probably, a week. And that gives them time to reflect. So where they just sit with what they've written to work out if it's the right thing, and then they edit their own work. And then once that's done, I usually review it, and then I send it to my editor, and they edit the work. And then that goes through usually 2 rounds of editing before it comes back, and then it goes into the actual book, and it gets formatted into what the book looks like. And we put the cover on it that's already been designed, and then we publish that book. So most of the projects have those same elements in them. It just depends. So in that sort of project, I have to manage 20 or 25 people. In a solo author project where there's just one author, then I have one person to manage. So it depends. Sometimes managing 20 people is easier than managing one person. It really depends on the type of project and the size of the book, and how much the author is interested in the design elements of their cover and that type of thing.
Yes, Joanne. You can go ahead. Yes, Joanne, what are the academic qualifications that have taken you this far into your profession? How would you advise young minds to ideate their career pathways and foray into being strategic consultants, business plans for different clients? What skills do you think have made it possible for you to work with them?
Okay, so for me personally, I went to university and I did a degree. So my degree was in Asian studies. So I actually learned to speak Japanese, and I did a lot of kind of art subjects. So, history and sociology and subjects like that. Business related to Asia specifically. And I then made sure that I got practical experience. So I had a job while I was doing my university, working for a company, and I learnt about business in that job. And then I have found that as my career has progressed, I usually identify, to get promoted or to move up in my career. When I was working for other organizations, I would identify the skills I didn't have and then the job I needed to be able to get experience in to get those skills. So I did move around quite a lot within the organizations that I worked for to get those skills and then, learn them in the job and then move on to another area. But I also believe in lifelong learning. So you don't just learn at school or in university, you also are continually learning, like on the job, or you go back to university, or you do a short course somewhere, or you have a look on LinkedIn Learning and you do some courses from there. So I often do other training courses so that I can improve my skills all the time. And I think, depending on what area you want to go into, getting experience, working in different types of businesses is really useful. I've worked for very small businesses where there's one person other than me, and I've worked for very big corporations that have a presence all around the world. And that has been, invaluable in understanding, where to go and what to do, and some of the things you might need to learn.
Happy morning, ma'am. I am Aman. My main question is, how do you define success, and how long did it take you to find success?
Okay, so I think defining success is a very personal thing. So for some people, success might be really good grades. It might be becoming the general manager or the CEO of a big corporation. For other people, success is starting their own business and creating good family life, or being more of an entrepreneur. So I think for me, defining success for me will look different to what it will for everybody else. But what I personally like is that I can now help other people to learn new skills and to follow their dreams and really create their own success. So that's part of what I do through book publishing. A lot of people really dream about being able to write a book and have success through that. So for me, that's my success is the fact that I can help them achieve that. That's okay.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes.
An IGCSE student. So,
Yes.
ma'am, please tell us about your book, Innovation Secrets. Since the launch is scheduled for 3rd September, what are your
Yes.
thoughts about the book release right now?
So we're on track for the book to be released on the 3rd of September. It's currently being the final formatting is happening for that book. And we have a strategy in place at the moment. So all of the authors, there are 21 authors in that book, actually promoting the book in their own channels and their own social media and their own email lists and things like that. So with that book, our plan is to hit #1 bestseller on Amazon and create an international best-selling book. So that is the plan. We will be looking to do that in Australia and probably the United States, because most of the authors are from Australia or the United States. So they're the two areas where it makes sense to target that particular honour, I guess you would call it, of hitting a bestseller.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's okay.
Happy morning, ma'am. I'm Arthur, an ICC student. Ma'am, are there any marked differences in either your professional profile or the profile of your clientele in the last 1.5 years?
Okay, so I think between my professional profile and my client's profile, there would definitely be differences. A lot of them come from very different backgrounds or different, industries and things like that. The thing that we have in common is that we all, like, they take and I take positive action. So I think to be successful, you actually need to take action and set goals and work towards achieving them. So it's important to have a plan, not a plan that is rigid and doesn't let you take advantage of opportunities that might come up, but a general plan to achieve your goals. So I think that would be the common thing that we have. And as I said earlier, a lot of the people I work with, they are trying to create a better world. So, we have that in common, that we want things to improve for everybody.
Thank you so much, Mom.
That's okay.
Miss Joanne, with digital content replacing hardcovers and paperbacks, what is the future of publishing as a career option?
Okay, so at the moment, 75% of all books sold are actually sold through retail bookstores. So even though we have, Amazon and similar sites that sell a lot of books online, the biggest market share right now is still, even with COVID and all of the things that are happening, it's still through bookstores, which is interesting because I thought there would have been a swing the other way. However, we are seeing an increase in the number of ebook sales. So, ebook sales were a small percentage of the market. That has now increased to maybe about 25%. So that's where, Kindle and different other, technology advances have allowed people to more easily access books online. So I think we will see that market grow over time, but people still like to have a physical copy of the book, which is good.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Miss Joanne, after coming this far, is there anything you would have done differently when you started out?
I think you're always learning. So if you're not always learning, then I think in business that's a dangerous position to get in. So for me, there are definitely things I would do differently around the choices that I provide authors with and what they can choose from in some of the packages I run, where I think sometimes making that more streamlined would be better. Often if people have more choice, it's harder for them to make a decision, and that means then that timelines get extended and it's harder to hit your target. So I think mine would be more around just having a more streamlined process.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have children playing in the background now.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Sasik from stage 9 of IGCSE. We've mostly come across authors and ideators, but are elated at this opportunity to speak to a person like you. And you're instrumental in giving a shape and space to a writer and an entrepreneur. I released my first book back in 2016. I haven't authored a book since, but I've started a space and technology YouTube channel. Having been introduced to writing at this age, what would your advice be on helping me reach my target audience?
Okay, so sorry, you were dropping out a little bit. So can you just tell me what your target audience is again?
Yes, I was requesting you for some help on finding out how do I target my target audience? How do I find out what my target audience is?
Okay, so you said you've written a book, is that right?
Yes, but I'm looking for a target audience for a YouTube channel about space and technology.
Oh, okay, all right. Yep.
Yeah, in which case I'd be scripting. So people who'd find that content relatable. How do I find that?
Okay. So finding your target audience, I think you need to think about where they are. So, you're starting a YouTube channel, so obviously, you would be wanting to find people on that channel. I would be looking for, groups and different places where people who are interested in your topic area are hanging out and interacting. And I think I would be doing some research. So, what type of people are interested in this particular topic area, what, podcasts and things are out there, what's the demographic of those audiences for those podcasts or shows. It could be like a YouTube show as well. And I would start looking there. I always say to people, if you're trying to identify your target audience, you need to get very specific about who that person is, right down to the individual. So when I'm profiling my target audience, I create like an avatar basically, and it's this person, this is their name, this is what they look like, this is where they go out, this is where they buy their coffee or whatever it might be, this is where they get their books, they wear this type of clothing, they travel or they don't travel or whatever it might be. So you need to get very targeted and do some research around that. And just see what the trends are and what people are doing. And then they often talk about oceans in this type of thing, so identifying where they are and what ocean they're in, but how you can create a point of difference to bring them across to you and what you're doing. So I would start with doing a Google search and seeing where people are showing up that are interested in that type of stuff.
Yes, thank you.
That's okay.
Ms. Martin, what are your goals and vision for the future?
So my goals for the future are to really make publishing more accessible for more people, and to keep it at an affordable price as well. So what I find is in traditional publishing, you're needing to apply to people who are very busy. They have, a certain type of style they're looking for. They will only take a certain number of authors, in a certain genre per year to publish, that kind of thing. So it can be quite limiting because they receive thousands and thousands of applications all the time. So with the hybrid model that I use in my publishing, it makes it much more available to people. And that's sort of, one of my visions for the future is to make it accessible to anyone who wants to get published, who has a good story to tell, who can write, basically.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Ms. Joanne?
Yes.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
One is there are a lot of our learners who are really interested in writing and getting their book. How young is too young? That is my first question. And second,
okay.
Since I teach economics, sociology, and English,
yes,
right? What are the different roles or the different career options available for a person who's so interested in reading and writing,
yes.
apart from, becoming an author?
Yes. Okay. So look, I think in terms of your first question, I feel like children can author books for other children, providing their, original content. So I've got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they're both really interested in writing their own books. And I've said to them, providing it's your story, it's not something you've seen on, YouTube or Netflix or something like that. It's actually your story, and it's unique. Then there's nothing wrong with them, starting their writing career. And I know my 15-year-old author who just published last week, she started writing when she was in the 5th grade. So that was, she knew she wanted to write, and she just started refining and refining what she did until she got to that point of actually being able to publish. And I think with you, you've got a broad skill set. So, and sorry, just remind me what your actual question was around, because I know you said you had sociology and
I'll come again with that. I'll come again with that.
Yep.
While we get our learners to think from different perspectives, so apart from reading, what are the other career options we can really get them introduced to?
Okay.
And get them acquainted with?
Look, I think how long is a piece of string? I believe, look, learning to read and write well is important for any sort of career option that you want to go into. Then I think it comes down to interests. So if we're talking specifically in that publishing space, you might want to be the publisher, you might want to be an editor, you might want to ghostwrite for somebody else, so you're actually writing somebody else's book for them. You might want to be in the back of house production side, so that's doing all of that formatting and typesetting and bringing the book together. I do think as technology advances, there will be more opportunities for people who are computer literate and who can utilize those skills across multiple industries. I think we'll see a change in the publishing space at some point as well. On the back of that, we're already seeing that now with the likes of Amazon and Kindle and the accessibility that brings for people. And also, there's not the massive cost that there is in traditional publishing with those types of things. I think there are career options there as well for people who want to work for platforms like Amazon. There's a lot of distribution, there's a lot of actual printing of books and stuff that happens in the background, of that side, and also the e-commerce and that piece of it as well. So some people might be more interested in the sales or the marketing side. So I think you can create a career from anything really, if you can read and write, and you don't need to be the best in the class. You just need to be consistent and really do your best. That's what I always say to my kids. You can be anything that you want to be, but you do need to learn to read and write, particularly if you want to do something where you are using those skills.
That was a very valid takeaway for all of us here, that if you can read and write, then you can broaden your vista and enter anywhere.
Yes, yes. Yes, you definitely can.
Close on this note. Ms. Joanne, how did you like the time with us here? How did you like the
look,
session?
it's been great.
Today's
No, it's
session?
been really good. Thank you for having me, and I've been glad I can answer your questions.
Ms. Joanne, if I may, one last question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Ms. Joanne, I have a question. It may seem like an Eastern question for you, I don't know, but I still would like to shoot that out. Unlike Western countries, we have noticed that there is a restricted mindset among students in this part of the world when it comes to starting their own business. For some reason, even the most enthusiastic learner of business gets a cold foot at the end moment when it comes to taking risk. They end up picking up a secure job for the rest of their lives. The reptile brain, we say, right? The reptile brain kicks in and inflicts fear of some sort. As a business studies teacher, how can I inculcate the skills of calculated risk taking into learners and develop the courage to take ownership?
So I think that we have a lot of people like that here too. Like I talk to people and they go in circles for years and they never actually take that step to starting their own business. I do think it comes down to building confidence. So if you can build confidence in their skills and their belief in themselves, so that is sort of half the battle. So it's the mindset, which I think Eastern cultures understand probably a lot better than the Western cultures do. That mindset and working on your mindset can be really important. I think, what we will see globally, at the end of this period we're in now, is more people realizing the benefits of actually being able to be their own boss and to be able to be innovative and creative and take some risks and step forward into areas that they may not have in the past. But I do think really telling people how good they are is the first step in doing that. I know one of the authors in Innovation Secrets wrote about this, and she said that she didn't think that she had any talent, but it was one of her grade school teachers who actually kept saying to her, "You're really good at this. You're the best at doing, whatever it is, this." And that is what put her on the path of becoming an entrepreneur and following her passions for what she wanted to do. Sorry, they're getting a bit rowdy here now. Yeah.
It's okay, ma'am. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Miss Joanne, so
yes.
Again, the whole idea of confidence building in young learners.
Yes.
And thank you for telling us that you work with entrepreneurs and business people who still lack the confidence to surge forward.
Yes.
That tells us that at any age it is an inhibiting factor.
Yes,
and, being supportive is the only way to go forward. Thank you for
Yes.
telling us that.
No, that's okay. You're welcome.
I would like to call upon Mr. Sunil Ravindran to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Jan. Authentic learning is what enables learners to connect their learning with real-world applications, taking into consideration the complexities and the ambiguities of everyday experience. At RAKS, we ensure that literally and figuratively, no stone is left unturned in making every learning experience authentic for our learners. This requires us broadening our vistas and seeking expert guidance from realms outside the school too. Today this has been made possible because of Ms. Joanne Martin, who graciously accepted our invitation and spent time with us, enriching the learning experiences of both learners and teachers here. Thank you very much, ma'am.